Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie. I'm here to talk about all the books coming out in February. These are the ones that have caught my eye, and I think over half of them I have NetGalleys for, which is just amazing and terrifying because I'm gonna have to read them all very soon. Here's the genre breakdown, but I am going to be separating this into release date, so feel free to jump around. I made this list a few days ago, so some of this is gonna surprise me all over again. I have to say that I was getting so hyped reading about the synopses of these. I'm feeling so good about February. Let's begin with the first Tuesday in February. We have a very big release that I know you all are very excited for. It is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is Ali Hazelwood's fantasy debut, I believe, and the girlies are so ready for it. I'm so ready for it. This is a marriage of convenience romance. It's between our main character, whose name is Misery. She is like a vampire princess, and their enemy clan are werewolves, but somehow they are doing an arranged marriage between the two, and they're gonna fall in love and probably have some fun times. I can't wait. I really love Ali Hazelwood. Her books are always fun. Ew, I just spit. Get a little too excited. And I feel like she gets better and better with each release that she does. I also really think that her writing and her tropes and her scenes and situations could do so well in a fantasy book. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Next, I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Ling. Oh, okay. This is a YA contemporary romance, I believe. And it sounds so stressful, which usually I'm not down for, especially in a romance, but it says that it's as if the main character of All the Boys I've Loved Before wrote hate emails instead of love letters. Because this main character, she's like a type A, very academic, very much wants to succeed, but she's also very kind and nice. And whenever people piss her off, including her academic rival, probably some hot dude, she hate writes emails, which just the thought of putting someone's name in the recipient thing and then writing shit, it makes my blood pressure go up. That is one of my worst nightmares, is to have an email send without me knowing. I don't even write hate emails. I don't think I've ever written a hate email, but just not rereading an email for typos and sending, that's my worst fear. And so this is like, she saves them as drafts, obviously, so they get released. I wonder if her younger sister does it, but somehow the whole school gets them. I think it's gonna be interesting because this main character has to go about her days after this with everyone knowing that she has some darker thoughts and meaner thoughts, and she has some complaints. I think that's pretty interesting because in To All the Boys I've Loved Before, not everyone knows about these love letters getting out, you know what I mean? It's only the recipients, and Laura Jean really handles it very quickly, and there's not too much stress about it. It quickly turns into like a fake dating situation, but in this one, like, our main character is gonna have to deal with some consequences, and the thought of that is very interesting to me. Next, we have 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart, and this is a collection of dark fairy tale short stories, and it's by the author of Thistlefoot. I do have this, obviously. I have not read it, but I'm very intrigued because it's a story about Baba Yaga. I feel like I'm gonna get to this book first though, because I love a collection of short stories, absolutely. And I feel like the darker fairy tale and the folklore type of stories really sound good in a short story format. I don't know, it just sounds delicious and yummy. The overall theme of the entire collection is the abomination that resides within us all, which sounds amazing. The cover is beautiful. It's gonna be witchy and weird and very folky. I'm very excited for this one. I'm telling you, February is gonna be amazing. Next we have Greta and Valden by Rebecca K. Riley. At first I just really like this cover, but this got me. It says that it's Schitt's Creek meets normal people. And I am just so curious as to a world in which those two things combine. It just makes no sense to me, and so it therefore intrigues me. Apparently this was originally published in New Zealand back in 2021, so some of you might have already read it. I believe the main characters and points of views are a brother and sister, which is probably the Schitt's Creek part of it, and it's just following them, their family drama, but also them falling in love. It does say it's hilarious, which I'm excited for, but then also, like, it says normal people, so it's probably gonna be intense and maybe heartbreaking, and like, also, is this a 1-star or a 5-star? I can't tell. That's what Normal People did for me. I gave it a 5-star though. In my notes I say, it says hilarious, so that's exciting. Let's hope it also tears me to emotional shreds. Pretty much. Next we have What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. This is the sequel to What Moves the Dead, and at first I wasn't sure if I was excited about this release because this is such a standalone to me, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, but because of that I'm gonna have to read this book, and I got the NetGalley, which is exciting. It's just so interesting to me that the author decided to continue this. I do love the narrator. It's a character called Alex, I believe. I should have probably looked this up. Yes, Alex, who is a soldier. This is sort of historical, but it's also in a fantasy world. And this character goes back to their hometown. I think it's called Galatia. How did I remember that? I don't know. They're back in their family cabin, and the person who's in charge, like caretaker, whatever, they are dead. And all the villagers are saying that some mythological, or like, what's it called? Like a town myth, a sort of creature or character is residing in this house or haunting it. Alex doesn't see any evidence of this, but then things start happening. I think it said something in the description about like animals going awry again, which makes sense because there's an animal on this cover. And the way that animals were included in the first book were very, very interesting. I hope that this is a sort of episodic story. I think I would be okay with that because I do love our main character. Alex was so humorous, but smart. They weren't obnoxious, but just a slight wittiness about them. And it was like weirdly cozy horror. I liked it. And I'm really hoping I like this too. Then I have Ready or Not by Kara Bastone, and I wrote in my notes, this cover, exclamation point, exclamation point. I completely forgot what it is. Oh wait. Okay, I just looked it up. This cover is so beautiful. This is a general fiction, but I think it's leaning toward romance, and it's about an accidental pregnancy, which usually I'm not drawn to, but the thing is, I don't like it when that is not very clear in the story and it happens as like a third act conflict. This is very much the point of the story, and so I think I'm gonna be okay with it. I believe it's about a young woman who's kind of struggling in her life. She has a random hookup and she's pregnant. The only person she can turn to is her best friend's brother for some reason, and I believe the romance is between them. It's a slow burn, friends to lovers, which sounds yummy. It's also set in New York City, and I love a New York City setting. This cover also kind of reminds me of this cover, that Harry Met Sally sort of retelling, and so I'm hoping for a little bit of that vintage New York feel. I don't know why I'm getting that vibe, but who knows? I'm gonna manifest. For some reason, I've been really drawn to stories of people who things aren't going right and then something big happens and they have to reset their life and start over. Then we have The Foxwife by Yanzi Chu, and this is a historical fantasy. It feels a little mythological too. It's set in China, and I believe there's also a couple murder mysteries happening. So there's a lot going on. The first plot is that a young woman dies, and people think foxes are to blame because in this town, in this time, in this culture, whatever, they believe that foxes pretend to be very beautiful people and lure them to their death for whatever reason. So there's a detective on that case. And then the synopsis sort of brings us to an entirely different plot. It says that there's a family who have a curse where all their eldest sons die before the age of 24. And so this son in this family right now is 23 years old, and this new servant girl starts working there, and she's beautiful and they really like her, and I think maybe he falls for her. Maybe there's a little romance in here. I'm starting to make shit up now. Anyway, the family are like, is this just a nice sweet pretty girl, or is this a fox? Here, let me give you more room for the cover here because it's beautiful. It's giving me that winter eerie vibe, and I'm just so here for it. But also I'm interested to see how these two plots converge. I have lately not been loving mysteries, at least not mysteries that are set in fantasy. I don't know what. There have definitely been some standouts like In Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, absolutely love. So I'm hoping that this is great. Obviously. Who goes into a book hoping it's not great? Next we have Dead Things Are Closer Than They Appear by Robin Weasley. I'm trying to remember the cover here. I'm gonna have to look it up. This is another YA, which is interesting. I think there's a few more on this list as well. I'm like really drawn to some of these YA plots. This one's a paranormal fantasy, and it might have a little bit of romance in it. It's marketed for fans of the Raven Boys and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which sounds a little too good to be true, but I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. The synopsis also is kind of giving Stranger Things. It sounds like it could be amazing. This takes place in a town that weird shit happens a lot, but our main character is average as fuck, which I love. I love an average ass character. Apparently there's like a fault line which is being guarded. When it's sealed, all of the bad magic stuff stays in some other realm or whatever, and that way life can just be sort of normal. One day someone kills a guardian and the earth opens up. I'm just imagining like a crack in the earth. All of these bad things come out, like zombies, evil forms forest, monsters, and some sort of evil cult leader that was living down in that realm. Our main character, Sid, our average as fuck girl, she starts to get involved and starts trying to figure out who did this and who's responsible because her brother was a guardian and now he's missing. So it's up to this teenage girl to figure everything out, and I love to see it, okay? I got a vibe while reading this synopsis that it was going to be humorous and sort of playing on all of these stories we've heard before. I like that. A nostalgic feeling, smart, hopefully witty, YA paranormal romance. I don't know where the romance falls in, but I don't know. There's got to be a romance in here somewhere. Okay, next release day, we have Heartless Hunter. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is a romantasy that just sounds like a witchy version of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. In this place, witches are outlaws, and so our main character, or at least one of them, is this woman who's a witch, but she's pretending to be this sort of heiress, this ditzy socialite lady. But at night, she goes by the Crimson Moth, and she is some sort of radical witch helper. Good for her, good for her. And so she ends up deciding to start dating this witch hunter, and I think this is sort of historical fantasy, so they're like courting. She thinks she's being this real good spy, but he is literally so aware of who she is. He decides to put up with this and court her back so that he could get more information about her. That sounds so fun to me. I just love people having secret identities but sort of being aware so that there's not this big drama of, oh my god, I can't believe you knew this whole time. I just want it to be really fun and possibly sexy. Please. Next we have not a sexy book, but sounds like the most wholesome shit I'm gonna be reading this year. It's called Welcome to the Hunam Dong Bookshop. This is originally published in Korea, and I believe it's a slice of life book. I think it's like a non-fantastical sort of version of Legends and Lattes, where this woman ends up getting divorced, she ends up quitting her job, and like I was saying earlier, I love a reset on life sort of story. She ends up moving to a smaller town and opening up a bookshop, and at first she is really going through it. She's crying in the bookshop all day and no one's coming in, and I think it's a struggle, but over time things start getting better. She starts making friends, and she learns that it's never too late to scrap the plot and start again. That sounds so nice. And the cover, when I first saw this cover, I thought it was going to be a graphic novel, but no, it's a cute little slice of life story about starting over. So I don't know, this just sounds so sweet. Okay, next we have a sci-fi, and I can't tell if this is YA or not. This is called Twice Lived by Joma West, and it is a story in which there are two Earths. Everything is pretty much the same. It's like a parallel alternate universe. So there is like another me on this universe living their life. And just a small amount of people, I'm guessing, are these things called shifters. And they are somewhat aware of the other them on the other planet. So this story is about a shifter. I guess it's like 2 points of view here, but they both swap and everyone knows that there are like 2 people in their psyche. So every now and then, how do I explain this without confusing you or myself? So let's say their names, I should have probably looked up their names, but let's say their names are Julie and Sarah. And so one day Julie will be in Julie's world with Julie's family, but sometimes Sarah will be in Julie's world with Julie's family, and Julie's family is well aware. And they get to know each other's families and friends and their worlds and their towns, and they get like close with all these people. But I believe when a shifter gets to a certain age, they have to choose which world they're gonna stay in, or maybe they have to stay in there. I don't know how it works. Obviously, I haven't read the book. But I think it's gonna be this sort of heartwarming, maybe sad story about having to leave like half of what their life sort of is. And to the best of my knowledge, they won't be able to communicate with the other Earth after this shift is finalized. And so it sounds like it's gonna be really sad. I'm very curious if they can communicate with each other. It didn't sound like they could, so it'd be kind of cool if they like left notes for each other and like became best friends. And finally, for that week, we have The Bad Ones by Melissa Albert, who is the author of Our Crooked Hearts. I did give this a 3-star. There are things about it I really liked, like the occult feeling of it, and some of the writing I really vibed with, but there was also some things in here that I really didn't like there was a forced romance, and I felt like, I don't know, it was just a jumble of emotions that kind of was like, by the end of it. That being said though, like, this cover's amazing, and that's what's gonna make me read the book. This is a YA horror fantasy fantasy, which sounds like a pretty cool combo. One night, 4 people suddenly vanish in this very small town, and our main character, Nora, her best friend is one of these people who go missing, and so Nora takes it upon herself to investigate. Apparently, her best friend left some coded messages. That part sounds pretty cool. Apparently, they used to play this childhood game, and there was a goddess in it, but there's like a dark past in this town, and this goddess comes up again, which is kind of interesting. I like it when childhood stuff in books turn out to be very sinister, like puppets and games and forests. I don't know, stuff like that. That sounds pretty good. Next we have Green Dot by Madeline Gray. This sounds like a general fiction, maybe literary fiction, about a very, very messy, possibly unlikable character. Through her job, our main character ends up meeting an older man, and they start seeing each other, and she's falling in love despite only ever having been attracted or dating women before. And this sounds all great, good for her, except he's married. So yeah, it's gonna be her fumbling around. I don't know what's gonna happen. The drama lover in me wants to read this. It also says it's a queer story, and I don't know if they mean that to be just because she used to date women, or maybe she'll fall in love with his wife. I don't know. I'm just hoping for the best here. Next we have The Butcher in the Forest by Primi Muhammad. This is a fantasy novella, which I'm really excited about, and it sounds like a story where I kind of wish it was even longer, and I haven't even read it yet. In this town, there is a haunted forest, and people who go in there literally never come back, except our main characters whose name is Varys. Varys saved a child from the forest a couple years ago, and so the leader of this town, they call him the Tyrant. His children go missing, and so he commands that Varys goes into the forest to find them and bring them back, and if she fails, then he's gonna kill her. In which case I'd be like, Varys, girl, just don't come back. But apparently if you're in this forest for longer than 24 hours, you end up magically being trapped in there forever and you're never allowed to leave. But the story is of her quest, finding these children and battling different things in the forest, traps, riddles, and monsters. I don't know, maybe she'll find a backdoor to a more peaceful land and she raises those children on her own, because it sounds like their dad sucks. Next we have My Name is Eden by Eleanor Barker White, and this is a debut psychological thriller. Our main character's name is Lucy, and her daughter named Eden, who this story is named after, the titular character, she ends up getting into some sort of accident where she almost drowns, and she's okay. She comes home from the hospital, but she starts acting weird. She starts saying that her name isn't Eden. She wants to be called Ellie or Eli, I'm not sure which one. That's all good and fine, except that's the name of Eden's twin who died in the womb. And certain things happen where our main character Lucy is like, I don't think that's Eden anymore. I think that is my dead kid who's now possessing my alive child. So that sounds really fun. And that's gonna be a hard choice, cause, oh look, it kind of sounds like The Ring, actually. I'm interested how they play this out, because now that I am putting The Ring and this together, I'm like, okay, wait, I already know how this story ends. So who knows? Maybe Eli or Ellie will kill everyone in the family and just live their best life. I kind of want that to happen. And finally, we have The Lore of the Wilds by Anna-Leigh Sprana. Usually I would wait for like a romantasy to see reviews to see if like I'm gonna be hyped for it. But the thing that got me to request this arc is that there's an enchanted library, and I'm a sucker. Like, hello. Duh. A lot of the details in the synopsis are very vague, or like it doesn't fully explain things, which means that there's probably gonna be a lot of complicated things going on, or possibly twists and turns and spoilers. But our main character is a human, and there's also like fae here. She somehow makes a deal with a fae lord. I don't know what she gets out of this deal, but she ends up working in this library. It hasn't been accessed in hundreds of years because no faes are able to go through the doors, but she is. She's there though under false pretenses. It says that she is saying that she's doing it for wealth, maybe to like protect her town or give her town money. I don't really know. But secretly she's trying to find magic for herself to like yield. Is it yield or wield? I cannot figure that out. Wielding. I wield magic. I yield it. It's wield. Again, not sure why she wants magic, not sure of anything here, but I do know that there's gonna be a sort of, well, it doesn't say love triangle. It says that she falls for 2 very attractive, it says, fae males. Maybe it's not a love triangle. Maybe it's like a polyamorous relationship or a reverse harem. That'd be great. I just hope it's not one of those stories where one of the love interests is actually just the villain this whole time. I really hope for more than that. I hope for a steamy, fun time. I hope for some very strong strong atmosphere and ambiance. Yeah, that's all I can hope for. I will be reading it because I got the ARC. So yeah, speaking of ARCs, I do have the NetGalleys for all of these, which is a lot, and I will be reviewing, God knows when, all of these at some point. That being said, I do release day reactions. Did I just say doo-doo? Where I review a book on the publishing day or the week after for a book that I'm really excited about, and I do like an individual reading vlog. And the first week of February, I'm going to be releasing my Crescent City. The second week, I'm going to be doing Bride by Ali Hazelwood, because those are, oh my god, 2 back-to-back very anticipated releases. I'm so excited. But the last 2 weeks of February, I'm not sure which to pick from all of these that I've talked about. So please let me know your suggestion down below, or which of these that you're most excited for or sound most intriguing, or even just put a genre. If you're more intrigued about fantasy, romantasy, the sci-fi, the thriller, I don't know. Just let me know if you have an opinion. If not, don't worry about it. It's okay. Anyway, I'm so babbly right now. I need to shut this camera off. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.